Welcome everybody to the War and Peace Baseball Podcast. I'm here today with Ray Estrada, Alex Rudy, Farbod Markazi. I'm Alex Uwe. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
You guys never have
wonderful.
You guys realize you never have anything interesting to say about like how you're doing?
I never have anything interesting to say when anybody asks me that question.
I think it's no. I don't think it's because we don't have anything interesting to say. I think it's just something we've grown used to introing this show with. So
should I phrase the question differently? Like, did anything interesting happen to you today?
Has to be something. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Note to self: next time I will rephrase the way I ask.
Uwe, what about you?
Yeah.
Did anything interesting happen to you today?
Not particularly. I played some basketball, the evil sport that isn't baseball. I watched a very disappointing NBA Conference Finals game. You know, just basic stuff. Yeah, so let's talk about the fun sport, because the NBA is just a mess right now. Let's talk about baseball, and let's talk about the best player in baseball, getting even better, moving on up in the world. Mike Trout is still the best.
It's insane.
This is not news, but the news is that Mike Trout is putting up numbers that are on pace to be best of his career by far, which is saying a lot for a guy that does he average like 10 wins above replacement per season at this point? It's probably pretty easy to look at.
One thing that's funny,
it's ridiculous,
is I just remember a couple years ago we were having this exact conversation. We're talking about how he's the best player in the game, and he's 20. He was like 23, 24 at the time, and we were like, he at this age, how is he going to get better? But he's just every year. It's, as an Angel fan, I enjoy watching it, even though he's our team.
So you want to explain a little bit how he is getting better, like, because we can. There's enough to support.
I sent you guys the stat here. He has his average already is a lot higher than like even comparing it to last year. Average higher than last year. Slugging percentage higher than last year. On base percentage higher than last year. At bats per home run lower than last year. I bet I don't have all the stats on me. You guys probably have them. If you do, you can say it. But he's just, I enjoy watching it. He's the best player in the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's been either first or second MVP voting every single year, every single full season he's had in the major leagues. People have been really, really getting on to how he's historically, I think he's the most WAR for years like 20 through 25 in history, fastest player to 150 home runs, 150 steals. He's truly like the heir to, I would say, Mantle and Williams and Griffey, for just that center fielder who just was just transcendent and did all. And the biggest change he made this year was he never really had a true weakness in his game, but
he's swinging at first pitches a lot more.
Yeah, I was gonna say that his plate discipline, which was never bad, but I would never say his strength has been plate discipline. He turned that from his only slight weakness into being one of the best in the game at it. And
one thing I will say, as
how good he's gotten at plate discipline, and just in 1 year of change, he's in the top 1 percentile of top 6 percentile. I mean, of plate discipline this year. When last year he was in top 12, and he's swinging at way more first pitches, like you said, way more curveballs, especially, and he's also just
in the year that he won the MVP. I saw the stat. He swung at 10% of the first pitches. Not last year, 2014, when he won that MVP and hit 42 home runs or whatever. I think he's going to pass 42 possibly this year.
Yeah, but this year he's like over 25%.
Yeah,
and also he's just doing a much better job at swinging at pitches in the strike zone and laying off pitches outside the strike zone.
One thing I will say, as a person who watches him play every game, we see the adjustments he makes every year, but just the adjustments he makes like game by game is insane. I think I'm going to do year by year. In 2014, he won MVP, but he struck out a ton. But every year he has something he works on, and right now the as you said, the swinging at the first pitches, and I want to see him getting. I want to see how good he is in like 4 years, because if he gets if he continually gets better, that's just absurd.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I think he's definitely solidifying that best player in baseball title by quite a bit. But can you even make the argument for Harper or any other players?
I was going to ask that. Do you?
No, you can't.
Yeah,
honestly,
I don't
Harper
think
is definitely, in my opinion, the second best player right now. But and he is living up to his potential. Honestly, it's just unfortunately for him, instead of just being an MVP to compete with, Trout's an all-time great. I mean, and that's just, you can't expect the rest of the league to be on par with what Trout's doing. I mean, he's historic, and he's just playing a different game than the rest of the league. It seems like could have a 40-40 season this year while hitting in the mid 300s. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to believe. It could definitely happen. It's not like he's having a
last year he missed a 30-30. Last year he missed a 30-30 by one home run, I think.
Right, so this year he could have a 40-40.
Yeah.
Yep. I think everybody would be on board with that if that happened. I want to talk about another player having an amazing year that seems to not be getting the hype I think he deserves, and that's Michael Conforto. And, we talk about him a lot on this podcast especially, but I think the main thing is how much hype he got last year compared to this year. Last year,
I think it's just because the Mets suck now compared to last year.
Yeah.
Why?
I think they also rushed him up a little bit.
I'm going to go ahead and say that part of it was, last year everybody knew the hype was real with Conforto, and in April he put up an OPS of 118, and then hit 4 homers and hit 365, and everybody was giving him all these first 100-game comparisons to Mike Trout and Bryce Harper and all these other players, and then kind of had a rough month the next month, and then everybody, including Terry Collins and the Mets, kind of gave up on that whole idea of him becoming the next truly great player, of that franchise. And now that's happening, and nobody seems to be giving him the credit he deserves because, he did this last year. We don't know for sure. He'll probably taper off. Part of the reason he tailed off last year is because he did not get to play, and that's not his fault. He's still, able to put up these numbers and adjust, obviously. Pretty comparable to how he started off last year, and he is not showing any signs of slowing down. He is just tearing it up this year so far. He's hitting... Well, okay. He is hitting 320 this season and putting up an OPS over 1,000 again, walking at a great rate, hitting for power, has 11 home runs already this season, had 12 all last year. I don't see why Michael Conforto is not being hailed as one of the great young players in this game, because there's so much young talent. And Michael Conforto is supposed to be that next guy. He's a highly touted prospect with a lot of potential, and people just kind of said, okay, he is what he is after last season, and that is definitely not the case. So anything more to add on Conforto? I gave my little spiel there.
I just don't think he excites people because the Mets situation is not interesting. Their rotation is god-awful and is always hurting. There's so many more, unfortunately, you have to deal with people like Harvey and Cespedes on the team that attract a lot of attention. And also, he was downright awful last year. So people's expectations are really low, and he's not on everyone's radar as much. But I'm sure people will be catching up to your love with him in a few weeks because you were right. He's on an insane tear so far this year, and he deserves attention.
Yeah, I swear to God, if he loses any playing time when Cespedes comes back from his injury, I'm just gonna, I just give up completely. On the Mets, there's absolutely no reason that this guy.
You haven't given up already on the Mets?
I really do think this kid is special. I think they have young pieces that will make this team exciting in a timely manner. The pitching is injured. They still have these guys. They're not dead. They're just injured. There's still plenty to look at going forward with the Mets. I just don't know how Conforto, especially you talk about the team performing poorly, the pitching's awful. How's that any different than the Angels? people acknowledge Mike Trout as the greatest player in the game, and they can do that on.
We just did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course we did. And I'm not saying Conforto has the same kind of track record that Trout does. I'm just saying that Conforto can seriously be considered one of the 20 or 30 best players in all of baseball, and nobody seems to care.
No,
that's a bit. That's an overreaction.
He could be. By the end of the year, he could be.
Think about how these kind of players develop. Like they're normally, in most cases, pretty highly touted prospects that are able to swing it straight up, and then they add different elements to their game to make themselves more complete players. His defense has improved immensely, even though he's not a very strong defensively rated fielder by most metrics. But he's definitely improved in that aspect of his game. He clearly has the plate discipline for this not to be a complete fluke. Like, that part of his game has always been there. He straight up hits for power. Like, he's not a big guy, but he does have huge power for a guy of his size. He's only 24 years old, and the fact that you kind of assign greatness to players like Chris Bryant immediately, and he has success immediately, and he solidifies himself immediately. There's players that take a little bit of time to reach that level, and I don't see Conforto
I think he was slightly.
Conforto sucked ass last year. Like, you're ignoring that completely. Like, he was awful.
He had a bad month, and then completely got screwed over in playing.
He batted .221 over 100 games. That's not good, regardless of the situation. I think he's deserving of attention. I think in a year's time, a year from now, people will be considering him one of the best younger outfielders in the game. Like, he deserves. But you can't just say that he's being just completely ignored and unrecognized and not treated fairly. I mean, the guy is not brand new. This is his third string in the majors. People know who he is, and I don't think it's unfair that people are a little bit more cautious with anointing him as a star than previously. I mean, he had a ton of hype when they had their World Series run, too, as the next big thing, and then he didn't deliver at all the next year. And I know his situation was tough, but, I mean, a bad year is a bad year. It can't just be. I mean, it definitely matters that he had injuries and playing time issues. You can factor in without a doubt. And I don't think anyone didn't think he would bounce back. But at the same time, like you said, Chris Bryant. Well, Chris Bryant has been an MVP candidate essentially since day one, and he hasn't had anything like that. That's why he solidified his case so immediately. He didn't have, his first large season plagued by struggles. So I think you have just to give baseball a little patience. Mainstream baseball culture is really slow to adjust, like by far the slowest out of the major sports to really. I mean, think about Trout. Trout's the best example. We just talked about Trout took so long for everyone to really just finally accept that, like, holy shit, this guy is absurd and not playing a different sport. I mean, people really took a long time to truly come around to the idea of how good he actually is.
Yeah, but isn't that wrong? Isn't that wrong to
It's just the way baseball is.
No, that's just I completely agree with Rudy. That's just how that's how baseball is.
I know that's how it is. I'm just saying it seems wrong. We should be able to look. Hype comes quick and it dies quick. And I think
if Conforto maintains this the whole year, he deserves this hype. But it's in the end of May. I don't really like making any sweeping.
I was watching MLB Network the other day, and they were talking about how it's the quarter mark of the year for most teams because each team played at least a quarter, and they were talking about how each team's doing, how the predictions and everything, but they also said, if you guys remember last year, at this time, like the quarter, talking about the quarter stats might not mean anything. At this time, Chris Sale was striking everyone out. He was on pace to be the Cy Young. There was another guy that was just on fire. There was a guy, while quarter marks are good, we don't know how he's going to maintain for the rest of the year. I think with Conforto, if you look at him, you said top 20 right now. I think by the end of the year, he could be top 20.
Yeah,
if he
and
maintains it.
I get that this is extremely overreactive, generally speaking. I preach that. Don't be overreactive when you judge these guys early on. I'm not sitting here calling Aviseo Garcia the next Babe Ruth or anything like that. But all I'm saying is when we look for guys to make that leap, guys that do push through to that next level, we always want to catch that early. We want to be on board with these guys as early as possible because that's just the best for baseball, is when you get to see these guys emerge, and that's the best part about it. And then you look for all the factors that determine if a guy should be the type of player that should emerge. And I think
you're definitely right. He made that leap.
Most signs of Conforto's kind of player profile at this point to him having all the potential to maintain these types of numbers. And that's kind of what I want to jump on board. I want to jump on board, and I've put a lot of thought into it. I'm not just saying, oh, he has great numbers now, I'm going to jump on board. There's obviously a lot more to like just beyond the numbers he's put up 2 months of this season with Michael Conforto. And that's all I have to say about that. Any last things to add there before we move on?
No.
All right, I guess not. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the Reds. The Reds are in the news. Even though they're not playing good baseball, they are, kind of the founders of a new religion, I guess. I think that's the best way to describe it. The rally pigeon, the Lord Pigeon, is now all the hype in Major League Baseball. And the Reds had the pigeon interviewed in the booth, which is something that I have never
I'm sorry, are the Reds that boring to watch?
I've never even imagined that.
That was so bizarre. I still don't even understand it.
Yeah, so
did they put the pigeon in the booth, or was it already in the booth?
I think it flew in there somehow, because it's just open, I think.
And then just hung out there?
Yeah, and it just hung out there on the chair, and they dubbed over, some guy, and they pretended to interview the bird, and it was weird.
But you're telling me that wasn't the bird talking?
I cannot confirm nor deny that, but I'm willing to bet that was a human voice. It was just the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but it turned out to work. The Reds scored like 6 runs in the 6th inning, and they ended up winning that ball game. So I guess now we are all subjects of the Lord Pigeon. So any thoughts on being the subjects of a bird?
No.
I mean,
no.
It's like some deep September shit for like tanking teams. Like, it's only May. Why is this already happening?
This is something
we can't break our deal with the pigeons. The pigeons get out of the way of our cars, and we look the other way when they poop on our statues. We have a deal in place. We don't need to be upsetting that.
There's a certain amount of breadcrumb involved too, as I've been told.
This is literally what teams do. Like Rudy said, tanking teams do in like September to keep their fans watching. Like.
What do you say? What do you say if you're Joey Votto and you see this story and you're like, Jesus, in the news for a stinking pigeon story? Like, there's
Joey Votto gets mad at literally everything he hates.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'd hate everything if I was on the Reds too.
Yeah, I mean, there was that one time.
It's odd because he's Canadian.
There was that one time he bought like 50 pizzas for Ichiro to like get him back for buying him donuts or something. So. He's not all grumpy old man guy, but yeah, the Reds are definitely resorting to some weird. We talk about voodoo magic a lot. I don't know what to call this.
This is like what they think the Cardinals are doing, but like the Reds are incompetent, so like they got it completely wrong. Like they mistranslated like the ancient texts of like baseball magic.
If you were ever to write a book about baseball, I really need you to name your book the ancient texts of baseball voodoo magic. Can you do that for me?
Next on the New York Times bestseller.
Yeah, exactly.
Presented by Warren Peace, the baseball.
Yeah, we should all just like co-write it.
All right,
I think that's
you heard it here first.
Idea.
We should write a book.
We can't even seem to string together, articles on a bi-weekly basis. So, we'll see about that first before we start getting into to book writing. So, yeah, we kind of interrupted.
It'll come out in 10 years, but after we start it now. But
if you're around that long, be on the lookout. Serious podcast with a little bit of nonsense. So let's go ahead and move on to about 10 weeks.
He got an ouchie.
I'm willing to bet, yeah, he did get an ouchie on his wrist after getting hit by a
serious.
Oh no, this is going to be in the description if you want to see our lineup for this podcast. Absolutely in the description. That way you can comb through and see if there's anything that you don't want to listen to or you do want to listen to. Yeah, that's normally down there. Yeah, Freddie Freeman was probably the hottest. Okay, there's so many hottest players in baseball. He was one of the hottest players in baseball.
No, I think he was generally an NL MVP candidate.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
There's I can't go ahead and definitively say he's the hottest player like above guys like Harper and all that. But that point aside, Freddie Freeman is going to miss a significant portion of the season now. And the part that I really don't like about it is with wrist injuries, even when he's back, I can't believe that he'll be back to his prime form right away, because that is like a big part of your swing.
Yeah.
Nah, he's fucked this year.
Wow, just no optimism whatsoever.
Listen, if you're a hitter, there's 2 injuries you never want to get, especially during the season. That's in your shoulder, that's in your wrist. I just can't think of any times guys come back to top form during the season with those injuries. I think it was fine for his career. It shouldn't matter, but you really don't see. You always see guys struggle for the entire. Unless you get the injury super early, you rarely see guys come back to their normal selves within the season from a wrist injury, which is unfortunate because he went from a very good, if not spectacular first baseman to arguably the best one in the major leagues and an NL MVP candidate on a bad team. That's how incredible a year he was having, leading the NL in home run. So I'm a fan. He's my fantasy team. I'm pretty bummed myself that on a fucking wild pitch he had to get hurt like this. It's
You sure you don't want Encarnacion?
I'm pretty.
It was a fracture, correct?
Yeah. I think it was.
That's you can be more optimistic about the fact that he's coming back just off a fracture in his wrist as opposed to ligament damage. So, yeah, this year he's gonna be tough because he's got to get that trust basically back in his wrist, and the swing might be messed up after 10 weeks of not doing much of anything. But in the long run, because it's not a ligament issue, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah. So in response to this, the Braves made an interesting little move and traded for Matt Adams of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is very noteworthy. Yeah, they basically traded it's a prospect that's not even top 30 in their organization for him.
Yeah, and cash.
Yeah, so
that guy is so fat now.
Fat Adams?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was bad. He was bad and hurt when he dropped weight, and then he started doing better once he gained more weight.
So
the old panda strategy.
Maybe the Braves are onto something with this whole acquiring fat players thing, because they did acquire Fat Kemp, and he has been enjoying really, really nice numbers since joining the Braves. Maybe they'll turn Fat Adams back into Matt Adams and make him a productive player again, because he was pretty good when he was playing regularly for the Cardinals. I think he's going to get an everyday opportunity with the big club for the Braves, and maybe they should trade for Pablo Sandoval. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I don't know what the Braves are going to do, though. They're not a contender anymore in my mind at all. They lost their biggest piece. It's sad to say, but that division is just too good. The top team in that division is too good anyway. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on and talk about another team in this division who is struggling with the back end of their bullpen. Anybody want to guess which team that would be?
The Boston Celtics.
The Toronto Argonauts.
All right, well, that's 2 strikes. You have one more guess.
The Nationals.
Hey, he got it. Farbode wins again. Yeah, the Nationals cannot seem to lock down the 9th inning, and this would be more of a story, except now they got Coda Glover back off the DL, and he's pretty good. So I think he's probably going to end up in that closer role in no time, definitively, because Sean Kelly is just not getting it done. He's not durable at all, and the rest of that bullpen is just not very exciting. They've got Matt Albers back there too. Speaking of overweight baseball players, and Blake Trinan lost the job very early in the year. There's a lot that is not going right for the Nationals bullpen. The rest of their team is going about as right as can be, though, so I don't think there's any worry. Any worry about the Nationals?
They just need to trade for a couple relievers at the trade deadline. They should be fine.
Yeah, and that's kind of their MO.
I mean, every closer, it seems like they've been linked to there. They want to get even Melanson. They mentioned that the Nationals looking at him, but yeah, I mean, but we've gone through this past 2-3 years where Nationals need a back end guy, and they never trade for a back end guy,
except when they do, Papelbon and Melanson.
Oh yeah, they traded for Melanson right, but then they couldn't keep him.
Yeah, but
they can never sign a back end.
Okay, guy. It's not like they never do. Yeah, they traded for Papelbon, didn't they? Or no?
Yeah, and Papelbon
they did.
Choked out Harper.
Yeah, so that was a great trade for both teams there.
That worked beautifully.
Yeah. They're just the Nationals are about as hot a team as you'll find. Another team that is probably the hottest team in all of baseball is the Houston Astros, who have won their 30th game already. And I don't see them slowing down because their pitching has, that seemed to be their problem, and they are pitching very well.
Charlie Morton.
My concerns are, somewhat diffused. There's not much concern there. Brian McCann is on the DL, the concussion DL, for a short period of time. Hopefully that doesn't affect them much. But, their offense is just really, really good, even with players not performing to their full potential. It's, odd enough to say. When's the last time, you heard Jose Altuve being talked about seriously in the news? Because, he's not been off to, an amazing start. Carlos Correa is not off to a great start. Alex Bregman has done virtually nothing, but he's still, in that lineup. And that's a lot of pieces that can basically turn on and add a lot more offense to a team that already is producing way more than anybody thought. Marwin Gonzalez is definitely having himself a career year right now. There's a lot to like with this team. Any other specific little points on the Astros that you want to throw in there?
I think it's just their depth is really hard to fight. They did a great job. They made some iffy trades the past couple of years trying to win now, finally, after so many years of rebuilding. But overall, they've done a really good job just assembling a good core of depth. And I think that's what makes them so good so far, is that you can make the case that with the Cubs and the Red Sox, they have the most depth in the league. And unlike those two teams, they've been playing up to their potential so far. And, Keuchel has come back before he just got hurt with a bounce-back season. And I think, they're just... I don't think it's really that surprising. I mean, we all discussed before this year that they were one of the teams to beat. So it makes sense. It's not like it's that's going to regress. They should be this good. If anything, I would say it just stands out so much because so many teams in the major leagues are struggling that should be doing better. And so many teams that you would think would be doing worse are really hot. But I just think they're just playing as well up as their talent honestly should be. They have a great team. They should be one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, this is a team that we looked at in 2015 when they won the wild card game. This is a team. Last year they were very disappointing. They were supposed to be this top end team eventually, kind of like the Cubs became. They had a young surge, and then they were going to reach the top. And I mean, this is what we expected. They made some good moves this offseason. They had a very good offseason, in my opinion. So I mean, it's not too much of a surprise that they're the first to 30 wins.
Last year at the quarter mark, the Astros were 17-23.
Yeah, they were very disappointing last year, coming off of 2015.
Yeah, and with this whole Astros rebuild renaissance transition thing, it's just so amazing to think about some of the players they had in their system that they just let slip through the fingers, or they traded in like not less than ideal trades, and you just think of that team they'd have right now. Could you imagine that team with JD Martinez? Oh my God. They had him. They let him go for basically nothing. They just flat out released him. Oh man. JD Martinez is back off the DL, and he is absolutely destroying the league, as is Jake Lamb, and they both earned the Player of the Week honors in their respective leagues. JD Martinez is a solidified slugger. There's no question about that. He's definitely put in enough major league time with this kind of production to basically be considered a 30 to 40 home run guy every year if he's healthy. And he's doing it already. He's wasted no time at all off to a hot start. He's going to strike out, but he's going to hit homers and he's going to walk. Like that's his game.
It's the baseball death.
What's up? Yeah.
Why were they why?
Why are they able to
Wait, what?
Why are they sentenced to baseball death?
That you cannot read. I said they're the ones sentencing baseballs to death. Okay,
you can't read?
Groundbreaking news. But, in all seriousness, Jake Lamb is probably the more interesting guy to talk about. He's a guy that has been around for a while and has shown flashes of greatness and, is off to a really nice start this season. And I think he could be a very sneaky 30 home run hitter, for a really good team so far this season and for a really great offense. So any more thoughts on the Players of the Week?
He's been pretty underrated for a while now, I would say.
Yeah, his peripherals have always been really, really favorable. So I don't.
Jake Lamb hit 29 home runs last year in his first real full season, 151 games. He's definitely got the talents, but the fact that he plays in the Diamondbacks, it's the last few years not much fanfare out in the desert.
Yeah.
I also like to throw in that Matt Kemp has been absurd on the Braves. I know it's really random, but he's been ridiculously good.
Yeah, I mentioned him when we were talking about their Fat Player Revival program.
Yeah.
And Matt
Adams hit a home run today for them.
Matt Adams is next.
Second start for them.
It's gonna happen, guys. It's gonna happen. I kind of skipped over this, but I want to give a shout out to the first team to 30 losses in this game, and that is our hometown Padres here in San Diego. So congrats to them. Many more losses ahead. Cheers to them.
Honestly, if I'm a Padres fan, I'm not really that upset about this. I think this is the best this team has looked for the future, and since who is that GM who came in and just destroyed them and set them back for 5 years?
What's his name?
But all those win now moves.
AJ Preller.
Yeah, AJ Preller.
He's still there. Right?
He's still the GM.
Yeah. He was the one who made the Matt Kemp move. He made the James Shields
I gave AJ Preller credit, and he, after a horrific start to his
he was just testing the waters a little bit, I guess. He's
done a really good job rebuilding the rebuild, I guess, and now they're kind of back to where they were before his terrible moves, such as trading away Uwe's man crush for peanuts.
They got Will Myers in that trade.
I would say overall that trade was ass.
How is that peanuts?
They have 4 top prospects for Will Myers. I would say that's I don't think that was a good trade.
All right. Yeah. Well, anyway,
that's an exaggeration. You're right, but the future looks bright for once.
Yeah, I don't think the Padres are going to be relevant for a little while. So if we don't mention the Padres for a long time, I'm sorry. Maybe I'll get their next first to this loss landmark in the podcast. So, yeah, one last player that I think it is very worth talking about is Corey Dickerson, who is off to an unbelievable start to the season. I think he's homered 6 times in the past week or something crazy like that.
He homered today.
He did homer today.
Yeah, on his 20th birthday.
Happy birthday, Corey Dickerson. You are on fire. I don't know if anybody told you that, but you should get that checked out. So Corey Dickerson, obviously leaving Coors Field looked like the worst possible thing that could happen to this guy. And did kind of, by his standards, have a down year. Cause he did hit 20 home runs last year, I'm pretty sure. So We say
Yeah,
down
he
here.
he had 24.
Very
He's already
tentatively.
but he has 12 so far this year. He's already halfway to his total from last year. Yeah, no, I mean, we saw the flash in 2014 when he hit 24 at Coors Field. Then he was hurt in 2015, and then last year, I mean, on a Rays team, he was one of the power leaders. Only had 70 RBIs, but yeah, Corey Dickerson is a very good hitter, and he's hot right now. That's
And if like
bottom line.
there is some truth to these numbers, and he's able to put up a very, very nice season for the Rays, even more so than last year, then like it's kind of weird that guys like him and Fowler arguably have like better seasons away from Coors Field, and that's just kind of weird to think about. I don't know. I think that's just the first.
He
thing
struggled a lot on the Rays though when he first came. To be fair.
Yeah. I mean, there's an adjustment period for sure. Again, a down year by kind of just like normal standards. Everybody was hitting for power, so he was gonna hit for power. But the rest of the season was, kind of.
Oh, he batted 245 when the 2 years prior he batted 312 and 304. He's batting 345 so far this season.
Yeah, and nobody's saying he's gonna hit 340 this season, but Corey Dickerson will be a very relevant player if he is able to just be who he is, be a steady player for a really bad team. So there you go. You got your chance.
And he's at the top. And he's at the top of the lineup. So.
Yeah, that's a nice little move right there.
He leads off.
I don't know if he's an on-base guy necessarily, but I like that little.
His OPS is his OPS is over 1,000 right now.
Well, yeah, because he's hitting home runs like every day. So.
Yeah, his on base is still almost 400, 394.
Yeah. So I figure all we do in April is talk about the players off to hot starts. I figure it's only fair in May to talk about players that are having a hot second month, because nobody cares about the second month. Like, everybody still thinks Ryan Zimmerman's the hottest player on the planet, even though he hasn't like done anything. Because that was all that's driven. People kind of lose interest in baseball in May, which is kind of sad to say, but we are here to supply all the baseball for you guys. Yeah, so that's going to do it for our top stories, and we are going to have a fun little game of Stat Game. That came out weird. We are going to play Stat Game. And
wait, before that, I'm going to applaud Alex Uwe and Alex Rudy for not talking about the Yankees through one top stories product.
Shoot, really quick. Wait, Rudy, have anything on the Yankees? Really quick, anything?
Girardi.
Oh yeah, Girardi covered home plate with dirt. There we go. We did it. Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has his own outfield section now.
The Judge section.
I don't think is that what it's called? It's
called the Judge's Chambers.
There you go.
Chamber.
How did I not know that? Yeah, there you go. Yankees news. Yeah.
Why'd you bring it up?
You totally knocked me off my train of thought. Oh, there we go. Stat game.
That game.
We are gonna play Stat Game, and I'm going to lead it, and these guys are gonna play it. So, all of these categories that I've got for you are team stats. So your answers are gonna be teams. There's no player categories for this one.
Golden State Warriors.
That is a good guess, but I'm going to go ahead and say the actual category first. First one, the highest team BABIP, and this is for offense, for hitters. Which team has the highest BABIP?
The Dodgers.
That was quick. Let me see. That would be fourth.
Oh, nice.
The Brewers.
The Brewers are seventh.
Damn it. I blame Farbode.
Only separated by like .02 though.
The Rockies.
Rockies are, I guess they're tied. I said the Brewers are seventh. They're like tied for fifth. Rockies and Brewers are tied for fifth with the Nationals. So Farbode wins. What else is new? Yeah, the Dodgers BABIP right now is currently 316, and the Yankees are the number one team in BABIP right now, 323. So I thought that was
2 and 3.
I thought that was interesting that the Rockies are not at the top of this list by a significant margin, because
who's 2 and 3? Just
2 and 3, Diamondbacks and the Rays. Interestingly,
those are my other two guesses. Oh my god.
You know what? There's always next time. Actually, there's not.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
never going to do this category again. So you missed
I
your
was
chance.
I had the Rays for the longest time once I saw that, but then I was like, no, I don't think it's that.
All right.
Ah.
Well, I got another offensive category for you guys, and that is going to be hard contact percentage by offensive players. So, which team has the highest hard contact percentage?
The Yankees.
That would be the... Oh, it's pretty low, actually. That's sad. The 21st.
Oh, darn.
21st.
I was just banking on Aaron Judge.
I'm going to go with Washington.
Washington Nationals, 13th.
I'm going to go with the Dodgers.
The Dodgers are 6th, so you're going to win that one with the Dodgers.
Oh,
some of these numbers are pretty interesting. You want to hear some of the top teams in this one?
Yep.
The number 1 team in hard contact percentage this season is the Tigers. That is pretty unexpected. They got some good bats in there that are hitting the ball hard. I guess just not with not enough results. The Diamondbacks are number 2. The Red Sox are number 3. The Rays are number 4. The A's are number 5. So
wow.
Yeah, the scrappy A's. These are the kind of stats they look at. They get in those hard contact percentages. I think that's a very good stat to look at, especially for players. If you're looking for guys, if you're looking for trends, if you're looking for, if you're just checking to see if the numbers that you see on the rest of the stat sheet are legit, hard contact percentage is a good one to look at. All right, so next one here I got for you is which team has the highest whip? That's pitchers, obviously.
The highest what?
Whip.
The highest whip.
The highest.
Like the
whip.
worst, or.
I do. Yeah, the highest whip. It's the worst.
Okay.
Worst pitching.
I was planning for the other one.
I did say
so
highest.
I must have read it wrong. I don't know, Reed. Sorry. Let me think. You guys can
the Blue Jays.
Yes.
The Blue Jays are 9th. The 9th highest. Or they're like tied for 8th or
Giants.
something. The Giants are...
The Giants.
Actually, they're like 16th. They're like in the middle.
The Mets.
The Mets are the correct answer. They are the worst team in whip this year. And I did it this way because these teams appear more interesting in my mind than the top ones, because you got teams like the Dodgers, the Astros, and the Indians that are obviously going to pitch really well. I guess the surprising one in like the best lowest whips is the Angels, who only have a 1.22 whip at this point in the season.
I was going to say the Angels.
Well,
but
there you go. You would have done pretty well.
Oh.
The Mets, though, awful pitching so far, and whip's a pretty big category. Like, it's a pretty big stat. That's not gonna lie about how well they're performing. Some of the other teams here: the Brewers, the Tigers, the Orioles, the Marlins, the Phillies, Reds, Padres. All those teams are down, but the Mets are the one that stands out. And Rudy got it, so you guys are all tied right now. How does it feel?
Terrible.
Terrible? Is this too much?
1-1-1, right?
Is this too much pressure for you right now?
A lot of anxiety right now.
The winner of this one guarantees a tie at least.
Just hold it together for 2 more. You can do it. So here we go. The next one is highest team average fastball velocity by pitchers.
The Yankees.
Hold on 1 second, actually, because I need to switch tabs here. And... Well, okay. Ray won that one because the Yankees are the correct answer.
Oh my gosh.
But there is another team that's tied. So if you get the other team, then you get the point as well.
The Cardinals.
What was your guess, Rudy?
Arizona.
The Diamondbacks. So the Cardinals are 6 and the Diamondbacks are 7.
Damn it.
Sadly, it doesn't matter. So the second is the Pittsburgh Pirates.
That I would never have guessed in a million years.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of their
flamethrowers. No one on that team stands out to me as like that I can think of off the top of my head. Or I'm like, wow, that guy has a cannon.
Well, Tyler Glasnow is the only one in terms of sheer velocity that I can think of.
Yeah.
In that regard, I guess they got some relief pitchers throwing really hard in the back end there.
I mean, I don't know if they have any like guys who throw like over 95 though. Tony Watson isn't.
Yeah, I don't think of guys like Ivan Nova and Chad Kuhl throwing.
No, is Felice in their bullpen?
Neftali Felice? No.
Yeah,
he was dropped by the Brewers, I think, or dropped. Like he still might be there, but he's on the Brewers.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. That was the guy popped in my head.
And the Rockies are the third highest. Just right.
That makes sense.
That's also kind of surprising too, because
they got Greg Holland and Jake McGee in the back end.
Oh yes, yeah, the bullpen. Yeah, that's true.
That's why I said the Yankees, because I mean,
yeah,
you got Chapman and even just him and Betances.
I think Luis Severino contributes plenty to that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. I think that's an interesting one. So now we got a 2-1 score here. So this last one,
I've locked up a tie.
You have, that is right. So
I need to get this one to
clinch it here. All right. So the highest team win probability added. So win probability added is basically the change in win expectancy from one plate appearance to the next. And it credits or debits the player based on how much their action increased their team's odds of winning. So basically, I'm reading Fangraphs right now. And if you don't understand, then I don't have more information for you necessarily. So give it your best.
I'm really confused what that means.
Win probability added. So just which team essentially has like players that will change their win expectancy the most, I guess, like at any point in a game.
What?
Astros.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we're getting to that. I'm still.
I'm just picking good teams.
You guys are still marveling in the. Okay.
I'm not like read up on that.
I'm still thinking.
I still don't really get it. It's like, how is it calculated?
I can do a little bit more research on Fangraphs here if you'd like.
I'm just gonna say a random team. Honestly, the Brewers.
Wait, what the hell? Where did it go? God damn it! Sorry, there it is. I got it. It's back.
I guess multiple teams.
The number one team is the Astros, by the way. Who said the Astros?
Oh my god. Rip. All right.
Hashtag winning.
Over it.
All right.
Hashtag.
Oh, by the way, I think I didn't specify, this is offensive win probability. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it mattered because you guys didn't seem to know what the hell was going on. The way you explained it made it like you said it was hitters, so. Yeah, I didn't specify that. So what were the other guesses, though? Just wondering.
I said the Brewers.
Brewers are actually fourth.
Oh, nice.
And Rudy did not fancy, I guess.
Rudy's boycotting this one.
The Dodgers, I guess. I don't know.
The Dodgers, I think that's your go-to today. They're 12th, so not awful.
Where are the Angels?
The Angels are actually 6th.
Who is 2?
The second Nationals were number 2. Tigers are number 3, actually, and the Yankees are number 5. So that'll fill in a few blanks for you there. Some of the lower teams here, the bottom teams, are teams like the Royals, the Giants, the Padres, the Pirates. Like these teams that don't really have a lot of impact hitters, I guess. That seems to be the trend there. Interesting stat. I, at the very least, introduced a few new people to win probability added, even if I wasn't able to explain it very well myself. But it is, in fact, a thing. I did not make it up. So, if you want to believe that, you can. But I did not make it up. So, that is our stat game. And Ray is the winner of this one.
My first ever win.
What happened? What happened, Farbode?
I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what half of the stats were.
Well, I guess that's the trick.
Excuses.
I will pick more obscure stats in the future then, just to keep you on your toes. All right, that is going to do it for today's podcast. Actually, do you have anything to add, Farbode, with the out of the park report? Go ahead and give it to us.
So, December 24th, 2022, Luis Perdomo, Cleveland Indians starting pitcher, took the stage last night at the Golden Ballroom to accept an award for his good deeds. He took a tumble, resulting in a scabbed knee and a red face. Perdomo said it was dark in there, and I was excited, I guess. Other than a scabbed up knee, the only thing hurt is my pride.
so true. Honestly,
that's so very so detailed. And that's the best part about these things is the level.
The guys who write this game, like, they really need lives. I'm sorry, like, I'm glad they exist, like, they do this for a living, but wow, like, just why?
I mean, they're doing a great job. If I feel like we should get some sort of sponsorship deal with Out of the Park because we've been talking about them. They're very relevant in this podcast. We'll try to throw in more of these. What do you call them? The Out of the Park reports, I guess.
Yes.
Out of the Park updates. Yeah. So we'll keep supplying those as we chug along through this season. So yeah, that is going to do it for today's podcast. Remember, there will be a fantasy podcast later this week, filling in on all the fantasy news and updates that you'll need. And yeah, and feedback is always very, very much appreciated. You can reach out to us on Twitter at WPB_podcast. You can check out our website. The link for that is down below. All our podcasts and any articles we've written are there. And I'd like to remind you guys that this is available.
Did Rudy leave?
I don't know. I guess he's just over it.
I think he just dropped the call really quick. Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and remind you guys that this is available on YouTube and iTunes every week. And we're trying to get this going as a weekly thing on SoundCloud as well. But YouTube and iTunes for sure. So